Everybody, welcome to this event. Welcome to Our Patients Are Wild, presented by Amazon. I'm Brian Huseman, Amazon's Vice President of Public Policy, and I'm a board member of Gorilla Doctors. Amazon's thrilled to be able to present this, and I am very excited to be here for all of us to have the opportunity to talk with Gorilla Doctors Kirsten, Fred, Noel, and Eddie. Now, we're going to be answering your questions at the end, but you can go ahead and start submitting them just by using what it says the Q&A right down at the bottom right-hand side of the screen, and let us know where in the world you are when you submit your question. So who am I and why am I hosting this event? I first saw the gorillas in Rwanda in 2018. It was a lifelong dream of mine, and it was even more special and amazing to see them in person in their natural habitat and just the way they interacted with each other. I met Dr. Kirsten there on the Rwanda trip, and I learned about Gorilla Doctors and have been very thrilled and excited to be involved ever since. But I know you all came here today because you love gorillas and because you want to hear directly from these wildlife heroes. But first, I am really excited to introduce you to our event MC, Mr. Tony Caballero. He's an actor, comedian, and Gorilla Doctors super fan. And Tony currently stars in the HBO series The Righteous Gemstones. And you can also see him in the romantic comedy We Broke Up. And I think that may be available for rent on Amazon.
Yes, Brian. Thank you so much. Thanks. It's very affordable on Amazon.
Great. Well, welcome. We're really honored to have you with us today, Tony.
Oh, trust me, the honor is all mine, Brian. And everyone, how amazing is this? Technology, am I right? And as you all know, as Brian just said, I'm a huge Gorilla Doctors super fan. I actually put it on my acting resume. It goes rollerblading, underwater basket weaving, and Gorilla Doctors super fan.
Hey, Tony, has that helped you book any roles so far?
No. Well, this one, score.
Well, I'll take that as a win for us for sure. Again, we really appreciate you being with us today. Hey, Tony, can you tell us why you are a Gorilla Doctors super fan and maybe introduce us to Gorilla Doctors?
Yeah, and it's time to get wild. I was lucky enough to see the mountain gorillas in Rwanda with my wife Annie in 2016. And Annie always says it was the greatest moment of her life. That includes our wedding. And I think I got to kind of agree with her, because it was the most exciting moment of our lives. We were on the Rwandan side of Volcanoes National Park, and we were going to visit the Amahoro group. And, we were expecting a more moderate level hike day, but the gorillas, they were moving towards the Congo. So our trek went from a mild hike to a straight uphill hike for about 4 hours. And I think I got stung by every stinging nettle, even though I did have, I think, 2 to 3 layers on in the pouring rain. But I remember when we came into that clearing and we saw our first gorilla. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. It was just so awe-inspiring. And that little baby right there, we spent a ton of time with him, and he was just so full of himself. It was so incredible. And there's my beautiful wife, Annie. And we talk about it pretty much daily. And then that evening, we got back to camp and we had dinner, and that was our first experience with Gorilla Doctors. We actually met a Gorilla Doctor who was having dinner next to us, and we found out what an amazing, wonderful organization it was, and that they're from UC Davis. They're stationed at a UC Davis veterinary school, where my wife, Annie, and her whole family, Laura and Murray, they're here too. That's where they're all from, so small world. And speaking of doctors, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to some more amazing Gorilla Doctors. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. And here they are, Kirsten, Fred, Noel, Eddie. Hi, everyone. Hi, thanks for being here. Kirsten, you're our Gorilla Doctors Executive Director and Chief Veterinary Officer. Where are you joining us from today?
Hey, Tony, it is so great to have you here with us. Thank you so much. I'm based in Davis, your wife's hometown. I work at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine.
Oh man, that's awesome. So you just got back from Rwanda and Uganda, right?
Yeah, after 18 long months, it was just incredible to be with our team in person and to know and see, firsthand how their hard work has kept the gorillas healthy this past year and a half. Well, I've always been in total awe of the dedication of our vets, and that dedication really went to a new level this last year and a half.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And I want to come back to that because that's a pretty powerful statement. So hold on to that thought. Dr. Fred, hello, sir. You are a field veterinarian in Uganda, yes? And I believe you have a rather special greeting for all of us today.
That's hello from How Gorillas Great. Thank you.
Dr. Fred, you are the man. I'm going to hold on to that moment for a long, long time. I thought I was back in the forest for a moment there. Now, Dr. Fred, how many languages other than gorilla do you speak?
Oh.
Uh-oh, Dr. Fred's frozen.
Oh. Hope this is back on. We lost
We're
him.
gonna get Dr. Fred back. I love that he's frozen with that sweet, amazing smile right now.
Fred smile.
That Fred smile, exactly. We're gonna get him back. We're gonna get him back.
Oh, we lost him. He'll probably log back in.
No problem. No problem. So, Dr. Noel, hello. How are you?
Hello from Rwanda.
All right.
Hello from Rwanda. For your question, I think Fred speaks more than 5 languages.
Oh, more than 5 languages. Oh,
yeah.
So 5 more than I know. That's great. So, Dr. Noel, how long have you been a gorilla doctor?
Well, I've been gorilla doctor since 2012, but before that, I was serving as a regional laboratory manager. So it's almost 12 years now in total.
Oh, wow. So you must have a lot of stories from the field, and we can't wait to hear them. But last but not least, Dr. Eddie. Oh, I just see Dr. Fred speaks 6 languages. So 6 more than me. Okay, cool. We're piling up how much cooler Dr. Fred is. That's great. But last but not least, let's go to Dr. Eddie, our head veterinarian in DR Congo. You guys have been through a lot of serious challenges lately, huh, Doc?
Yes, thank you, Tony. I'm actually very happy to be here today. Following the eruption of Mount Nyiragongo near my home city of Goma and the many earthquakes that follow it, we are now settling back in. And I'm eager to return to the forest and check on gorillas.
Of course. Now, were the gorillas impacted by the volcano?
Oh, no, fortunately, they are in a sector of Virunga National Park that was not affected. So we are very relieved.
No kidding. And we're also relieved that you and your families are safe as well. I'm going to turn it back over to Brian for the rest of this conversation. But before I do, Kirsten, can you just tell us a little bit more about what you found so humbling during that recent trip?
Sure, Tony. Yeah, before the pandemic, I was traveling to the region 3 or 4 times a year. And as I said, I've just always been in awe of the skill and the dedication and the grace of our teams in Rwanda, Uganda, and Congo. And on this most recent trip, what I saw was how each of our staff is managed. Manage the challenges and the day-to-day unpredictability of maintaining their critical work, the health monitoring. They did it every day with that commitment and dedication. They are in fact the reason we're having this event today, because this event is giving you all a closer look at how and why we do our gorilla health checks. Health checks are really the foundation of our work and what we do on a daily basis and how we keep our gorilla patients healthy.
Well, thank you, Kirsten. We're all eager to learn more about that essential piece of your work. So, Noel, maybe you can walk us through what a basic health check is.
Well, thank you, Brian. I think what Kristen is referring to is what we call routine health checks. The reason we call them that is that they are done regularly. So each gorilla needs to be visited at least twice a month. But as everything, gorillas, like we do with their individuals, so they have good and bad days. So if a silverback was aggressed the time track I've left, if you go there the next morning, it's possible, if he's still agitated, can attack you. So, oh yeah, for example, in this video, well, this guy is from Sardinian family. As you can see, he was sort of charging, but not really attacking me. He was sort of playful.
So what we watched, was that a charge?
Well, it was displaying, but you never know. The answer is yes and no. So you just need to give a space, because if you don't, you never know what is going to be next. So as what we do, like when you see him coming to me, I was trying to move far away, give him the space he needed, but this wasn't an attack. He was playing. I'll call that way.
So can you talk to us more about that? Like, if they're serious, sometimes they're playful. What does that mean?
So when they're serious, you can tell from their vocalization. So this one, there was no aggression. We knew that there was no aggression. He was just an open area that he wanted to come to us, like showing up, like this is my territory. So what you had to do was to move aside. But if it was a serious attack, like during an intervention, for example, we would have the line between us and the group. But if that happens, we kneel down, we just submit. We call it submission. We submit, we show them that you're the weakest in that territory. So, and most of the time they will let us go. So we never get attacked. Larry will be attacked. And if that happens, will be a short bite. It's just small bite and then they let you go.
Well, sometimes I think it sounds like some of my Zoom work meetings, but definitely much different for you. Noel, can you finish walking us through like what a routine health check is?
Yeah, yes, Brian. So basically, every Monday morning, we list which groups or gorilla families that we need to be visited, and we ensure that, as I said, at least every gorilla family has a veterinary visit once or twice a year, but that's in normal circumstances. That can change if you have a clinical case to look after. For example, in Rwanda today, we have about 21 gorilla families. So when we are with the group, we review a list of clinical parameters. We have developed about 9 health parameters that can be easily seen. That's the sheet we are using. So we take notes of like individual weight. Is the animal active? Is the animal feeding well? Is the animal moving the group? If animal has a wound, is it infected? Or could it be infected? Those are kind of things that we are recording. We are taking notes of it, and then we come up with whether a clinical decision can be taken or just something that you can watch over time for it to self-resolve.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're doing like individual health records for like each gorilla, right?
Oh yeah, yes, that's what we do. And it helps us. It can have 2 purposes or multi-purposes. 2 purposes, one, because it helps track the health of individual gorilla in a respective family. And it also helps track the health of the entire population using those daily data collection. So thirdly, that's why I said can be more. We also keep an eye on the prevalence of such diseases so it can help us in prevention in future. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Noel. I mean, that sure makes a lot of sense. Eddie, let me turn to you now. What other types of health checks do gorilla doctors perform?
Yes, thank you, Brian. So as Noel said, we schedule routine health checks, but often we'll receive a call from the park rangers, notifies of a potential illness or injury. So we then conduct a monitoring visit to see if the individual is ill or injured. We then confer with our park partners to determine if treatment is needed or if we continue monitoring to see if the issue resolved on its own. So if the illness or injury gets worse, we perform 2 types of clinical interventions. and we can provide medicine via that. Or in very serious cases, we will anesthetize the individual and provide more hands-on care.
Wow, that's an amazing clip. I can't believe you used a dart there. Noel, let me kind of turn to you. I understand that maybe you and Dr. Fred had a story where you treated the same gorilla, and maybe even kind of like you took X-rays. Can you talk to us about how do you actually, treat a gorilla that's in kind of a couple different places?
Pardon me, maybe before you get started, Noel, if I can just quickly jump in here, I just want to remind our attendees here today that there are two populations of mountain gorillas. One population lives in Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in southwestern Uganda, and it is geographically isolated from the population that lives on the Virunga volcanoes. And those volcanoes are the ones that span the borders of Rwanda, Uganda, and DRC. You can see on this map how volcanoes, Virunga, and Mugahinga Gorilla National Parks, right there in the middle, that green spot in the middle, they're all connected. And the gorillas that live on those volcanoes, of course, they don't recognize national borders, and they are totally able to move back and forth between Rwanda and Uganda and DR Congo. Okay, Noel, back to you.
Well, thank you, Kristen. Yes, Brian, it's not the first time I and Fred are attending one patient at the same time. But this unique case of Hirwa group, Obulanga, the read of Hirwa family, it's like a hospital transfer because he was treated in Uganda side, then crossed the border to Rwanda, then we had to continue monitoring, and we end up doing immobilization and free. So what happened? The new silverback Uburanga, the breed of Hirwa group, when the group was ranging on Mugahinga National Park, which is on the Uganda side, the guy failed to move from his nest in one morning. So Fred had to attend him. He did a visual health assessment, and he decided to provide medication. He gave him antibiotic, long-acting antibiotic and painkiller. Then a few days later, before even we would make decision on whether the drug has worked or not, the group crossed back to Rwanda side. So by the time they were spotted on Rwanda side, it was quickly communicated. So we want to follow up. We kept following him. The guy was not using his his right leg. I'm kind of confused. But he started developing wounds on that leg. So we're so much concerned that he was only one silverback remaining in that group, and we suspected brain trauma or broken bone. So we had to decide to perform a full physical intervention, which will require immobilization of Uburanga. So many people don't realize that our hospital is in the forest. So we carry all equipment, including the heavy X-ray machines, because we want to rule out, well, that's us climbing the mountains. We want to rule out whether there's any broken bone or not. So fortunately, we discovered that there was no broken bone. We did massaging of that leg, and we provide more antibiotics and painkillers, and we add on some vitamins, because even though he was feeding, but we felt like he was missing some, he needed extra support. So we took some diagnostic samples, and then guess what? Only after 10 days, the guy was fully recovered. It's one of, I've had best days, but this was one of my best days doing this work.
Thank you, Noel. It's such an amazing story. And
he's walking with 2 legs, you can see that.
Yeah. It was truly international effort too, right? Which also makes that so special. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's us. Us, me and all attendees and those who are off this call now. Yeah, it truly is, and we're an international team.
Well, that's great. Now, if I remember correctly, that group, the Hirwa group, it had already lost multiple individuals earlier in the year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Brian. In fact, Uburanga was the new leader because Hirwa group had also lost its previous lead Silverback. And before that, some of you may remember that we lost 5 individuals from Hirwa group to a lightning strike. So the group was already in a really fragile state. And so saving Uburanga's life and helping to keep that group together is really a great example of how the health of one gorilla can affect the health of many. It's also why our work is so effective in conserving eastern gorillas, because literally saving one individual has a population level impact.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Kirsten, because that's definitely one of the reasons why I'm on the board, is because you can see this tangible impact that this organization has. Eddie, let me turn it to you, and we want to hear one of your stories too.
Oh, okay, thank you. Actually, I have many stories, but today I would actually like to share a story about a rather unusual patient I had, larger than a gorilla.
Wait, did you say larger than a gorilla? we have to, what is this? We have to hear this.
Even though we are gorilla doctors, we are known in the region for our wildlife veterinary expertise and are sometimes called in to help care for other animals. So we take our One Health approach, which means the health of all living things are connected. So in this case, the park rangers from Virunga National Park called us because they know or they have seen an elephant with a large wire snare embedded in its leg. So I believe we have a photo on this, but just to warn you, it is unsettling. So, of course, when we got the call, we immobilized immediately to try and find the elephant. The only way to treat a wild elephant is to fully anesthetize it, which is a little tricky because you are estimating the weight of the elephant just by looking at it. So, and estimating inaccurately can be very dangerous, especially if the elephant were to wake up during treatment. So we darted the elephant with anesthesia. We had to work very quickly, and we were having a hard time trying to cut through the fixed cable, which was like what can pull a truck, big one. But then we had the idea to try and loosen the snare rather than cut it, which worked really well. We were able to slide the snare off. We then treated his wound and reversed the anesthesia. So, which required us to be rather quick on our feet. So during post-intervention monitoring, the rangers observed the elephant walking along the river and occasionally using his trunk to search for the now missing wire. Because at the beginning, he was carrying it with his trunk, but now it was missing. So it was really something great.
Oh, Eddie, that's such an incredible story. I'm so glad you were able to help that elephant. But I do think that that picture of you running away from the elephant is one of my new favorite images. Hey, on that note, I know that I can see we've got lots of questions for you all. Hey, Tony, do you want to kick us off with a question?
No. Just kidding, of course. Eddie, Fred, Noel, we lost Fred still, but I'm talking to him anyways. I'm just curious, like, are you guys ever going to come to California? Because if you do, will you be my best friend? Because we're going to go to like a Hollywood party. I'm not close personal friends with Steven Spielberg, but I did DM him on TikTok. He hasn't gotten back to me, and I'd be like, hey, Steven Spielberg, these are my buddies, the gorilla doctors. It's Tony. Cast me in ET 2. He returns. And he'd be like, okay, cool, man. I got a one-line busboy for you. And then it'd be like, awesome. And so many other huge opportunities would come up because of that. But anyway, all jokes aside, I am just in such absolute awe of you all and honored and grateful to be here today in the presence of such incredible, giving, and kind humans. Thank you so much, Amazon, Gorilla Doctors, and the UC Davis Veterinary Medicine School. Now, let's turn it over to all you amazing folks that showed up today. Remember to put all your questions in the Q&A box if you haven't already, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Tony, so much. I really appreciate it. I agree. I want the girl doctors to be my best, my best friends as well. So let me turn it over. We've got so many kind of like questions here. Here's one from Rwanda in Australia. What are the greatest challenges to your work with the mountain gorillas? Who wants to take that one? Noel,
Go
do you
ahead,
want to
Noel. What is one of your
start us
greatest
off?
challenges?
Yeah.
Well, I was waiting. I was waiting for the director to comment. Well, I don't think I called it a challenge. The work itself is physically demanding and psychologically demanding. But after all, after you've done intervention, you see the success, you can forget everything. So I don't think I called it a challenge. It's the type of work, how you do it, but the outcome makes you forget everything. So I don't think I'm answering that question, but that's how I feel.
Yeah. Kirsten,
Yeah,
what would you
I
say to
think
that?
they are one of the great challenge for gorillas is that every day you plan for any intervention, you have a plan on a paper, but once you're in field, in face of the gorillas are going to intervene on, you are facing new challenges. And we never really went through our plan as we wrote on paper. So always getting new things on ground, changing all the plan all the time. Every second we have to change the plan. So that's one of the big challenge. Every day we learn new things. We see new events, new stories, which is really something which is great for our, we are having new challenges. We are developing our mind just to face all those daily challenges.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about logistics. It's not, again, it's not like a challenge really. We just we try to use what we get, but now as diagnostic improves, so we sort of need more advanced tools to do diagnostics. So, but again, we try to not think more about the challenges. We try always to work on solutions.
Yeah, and thanks you guys. I think I would just add to that, from this side of the planet where I spend most of my time. Of course, we're always worried about the potential for a human infectious disease to be transmitted to the gorillas. As gorilla doctors, we've done the research to prove that that can happen. And so, things like Ebola virus outbreaks, the one that occurred in Eastern Congo was, very, very worrisome for us, especially for Dr. Eddie and his team in Congo, that the outbreak zone came really close to the part of Virunga National Park where the gorillas live. And then of course, this COVID-19 pandemic has presented its own challenges, not just for just day-to-day life for our vets on the ground, but also just doing everything we could to advise our partners in all 3 countries about the risk that the virus posed to the gorillas, and to do everything we can to keep them healthy. We've been just really trying to emphasize that the basic disease prevention practices that we ourselves have been engaged in for the last 16, 18 months are the same ones we need to use for the gorillas. So just, it's been really great to see that our park partners really respond to that recommendation to increase the distance that people can come in, into close proximity to gorillas, to wear masks. And so anyway, that's been, of course, a challenge, but one that everybody has risen to. And, knock wood, no evidence yet that the gorillas have gotten the virus.
Penny had a question about COVID, and she wanted to know how the neighboring communities are facing COVID, how they're dealing with COVID-19 and the decline in tourism because of the pandemic.
Guys, do one of you want to take that?
Well, the decline of tourism, which obviously has affected the economical aspect of the communities, which will obviously increase the reduce how they value the park. But many of them, again, depends on the communities, but they have understood before the COVID, they have understood why to conserve. So it's not very easy, but at least we have a backup when you're talking to them for anything, so they know what you're talking about. However, there's that challenge of financial resources. But in terms of how they feel, that if I speak of here, they are also in general implementing preventive measures, and then there's a checkup going on around, and the park staff are every 2 weeks they go through the checkup. So yeah, it's challenging. You can't say in this zone they're doing very well, in this side they're doing very well. We are all fighting as a whole, the world. We are trying to fight the pandemic, but so far so good.
Yeah.
Hey,
I was just going to add, I think it's pretty remarkable that those countries have prioritized testing and vaccination, where, you know, when countries have the vaccination program underway, they've actually prioritized the people working in the parks because they know about the importance of that human gorilla connection. And so, and in that way that it's benefiting the communities around the park. These park workers live in the communities surrounding these parks. So just sort of elevating that, that prioritizing the park staff and then really helping the communities be a part of that has been important.
Hey, Eddie, we have a question for you from Sandy, who would like to know how you managed to treat an infant gorilla in the wild, you know, like maybe removing a snare without being attacked by the silverback.
Actually, that is a good question. I just like to say something on that. You know, as we are working on the ground, we are having many partners working with us. For us, we are vets, we administer treatment. We do have other partners who can study like behavior of those animals. So anytime we have a call, we have to find out who's that individual, as they are known, each individual. So we have to know the behavior and who's sister of who, brother, what kind of scenario. So we have to learn about the connection between individuals. So if the baby is very attached, much attached to the mother, so we have to knock the mother down to have easy access to the baby. So that time when we intervene, we split in two teams. We have a team which will administer treatment, and the other one make a wall protection to the intervention team. So that's how we work, and we behave as if we are doing tourism. We keep the group like in normal visits, no alert, no shouting. It's like a normal visit, tourists around, then we do it that way. So we keep the group calm in that kind of behavior. So Noel, if you have something can add.
Well, as Eddie described it, so to answer practically, it means that you end up darting two animals at once, which automatically requires two veterinarians, because you can't dart two animals at once. You need two veterinarians. And in very rare cases where you have such aggressive silverback that really want to attack, you might end up also putting him down, but that's require a well-calculated risk. So it means you have three animals down at the same time, so you need to have a veterinarian doing the procedures and taking notes of the heart rate or respiratory rate, and also making sure that the group is not really attacking you. So it's, again, like we said, for the day, they have bad days and good days. Intervention, there's no copy and paste of intervention. Each intervention has its unique.
Yeah. For Noel or Eddie, for either of you, Chris is wondering if the darting affects the trust that gorillas have developed with human presence.
They will, if they realize that you are the one darting them. So as the Eddie described, you just have to make sure that by the time you're delivering your darting, no one sees you. Even a tiny baby, if she or he sees you darting, they don't think twice, they come for you. So we have to make sure that we do it in a very secret way. And yeah, few occasions that they happen to know it, we lost those groups for quite some time. So you need to go back to rehabilitation.
That's fascinating. Eddie, I have a question from Ricky for you, who asked, are gorillas threatened by the bush meat markets?
For the mountain gorilla, they are where they live is really very well protected. There are a lot of efforts going on to protect them. So where we are having a huge problem is with growers gorillas, where we have mining activities going on. Bushmeat trade is very high. Even those people doing mining, they are serving as bushmeat. So, and they're doing some kind of trade also for the living animals. And chimps, gorillas, other primates are really losing them. That is a big threat we are having in those other sites. So we wish that could get also more support or lobbying to have this kind of activities going down. So we need much more law enforcement across borders as it used to be, and to try to do some kind of lobbying outside our country, Africa, and so on. So that is really something we are facing really, and the number of these guys is decreasing really day after day. So this is a big fact.
Yeah, if I may, thank you, Eddie, for pointing out for everyone that, you know, in addition to the work we do with mountain gorillas, we also take care of the habituated Growers gorillas that live in Kahuzi-Biega National Park in Congo. And so your point is, of course, a very good one, that they're in real trouble from a conservation standpoint. I think that the important thing to realize also is that, you know, snare removal is really the bread and butter of our work. I mean, that's why we got started. Is there, you know, Diane Fossey herself was observing gorillas caught in snares, and most often those snares are being set by subsistence hunters who are coming into the park to catch a duiker, a small forest antelope to feed their families. So, but of course, you know, unfortunately, and especially with the young gorillas, they can get caught in those snares, and that's one of the, you know, one of the reasons that our veterinarians are going into the park, and it's not uncommon for them to anesthetize gorillas to remove snares.
Hey, Noel, Tracy in North Carolina is curious about the types of plants that gorillas eat and what they use to bed down on at night.
Oh, that's fun.
Well, from the science standpoint, we know that they feed on over 220 plant species. So, and the preference, if I have to speak, the preference depends on where they are. So they are the ones that are stinging. So they take them upside down, so they can just pull up the thing, and then they chew on them from that angle. So they are very smart in their way of manipulating food.
So Eddie, let me start with you. I'll ask both of you, but Beth is curious, how did you become connected with gorilla doctors, and why did you decide to join the group? So Eddie, we'll start with you.
That's a great question, really. So for me, as from my family, my father was a farmer actually. We used to raise a chicken at home, and I used to go to our farm and always be behind goats. And if we have a new goats, I could give names. So my father found like this guy is really very like animals so much. So he said, you should go to study veterinary medicine. So I said, wow, that's good. That's how I studied it. So, and when I finished my bachelor degree, I taught 1 year in my secondary school, and I learned about the job posting about gorilla doctor. So I applied, and I was lucky to be part of it, because I used to do domestic animals, but no experience at all with wildlife. And even our farm, there were some gorillas that were around even our farm. They could come and destroy some banana trees. And so I got to know them, like these animals are destroying our field. I could also see the baboons coming to destroy our manioc field. So I got to know them. So I was very excited to know much more about the wild ones. So that's how I got to know gorilla doctors, and I'm there.
You think you're lucky, Eddie? We were lucky to get you.
Yeah, please. I'm also lucky to be hired.
Noel, how about you?
Well, man, I don't know. I was trying, when Eddie was speaking, I was trying to shorten my story, but it's true, I'm still. Anyway, I mean, I'm from the northeast of Rwanda, which is like 2 hours drive from here. I fell in love when I was 5 years old, a little boy. I think that's when I got my first puppy. I knew nothing about wildlife. So at that time, I thought I was going to be either a veterinarian or a physician, because my primary school was near the hospital. So that's how it was. Finally, I went to the vet school. When I went to the vet school, my dream was to be a veterinarian, as I said, but I got introduced to the wildlife medicine. It was a course of about 60 hours. And I completely changed, because I was like, do they need veterinarians? Do wild animals really need veterinarians? that's why I keep shifting my thinking. And then when I was in the 4th year of the program, I came to the gorilla doctor to look for more exposure and experience. So I came here 3 times. I say here because I'm here now. So I came here about 3 times looking for an internship. Finally, I got one, and we did a project which was looking into internal parasites of cattle around the Virunga Massif. So my interest wasn't really parasitology, but I felt like that would give me a chance to come here and just interact with people with zoo background, zoo medicine background, but also wildlife medicine. So that's why I got here. And by the time I was finishing my dissertation, they had a position for regional laboratory manager. And in fact, thank you, Eddie and Fred. When I was doing lab work, I had a chance with the regional management. They were giving me a chance to cross the borders to Uganda and Congo, just help out. That's why I got my first experience, the clinical work with the gorillas. So I'm very thankful to Fred and Eddie because they were my mentors at the time. And the entire team of gorilla doctors, they just helped me grow in a way that I don't want to grow. And I'm not, well, I do this work, but I'm not there yet. They're still helping. Kristen can tell more about, but we are still growing clinically, but also in conservation perspective. So how do we use veterinary skills into conservation, not necessarily only with the gorillas, how do we use this success with the mountain gorillas to other species? So that's why I got here, and I'm not planning to leave anytime soon, sorry.
Thank goodness. And you're too humble, Noel. You guys are the world's gorilla veterinarian experts. I mean, really, no one does gorilla medicine better than you guys. But I appreciate you talking. I mean, it's kind of an amazing thing about our team. They're just lifelong learners. They're always looking to improve their skills and their knowledge. They've all done the hard work to earn additional degrees after their veterinary degrees. Thanks to support from our donor community, but they've been able to get master's degrees in wildlife health and epidemiology. And so, yeah, always learning.
Hey, Kirsten, a question for you from Robert. What is the period of time necessary for a new baby gorilla to be born, and how many are being born per year on average?
Yeah, so their gestation is the same as our human gestation, pregnancy length. And infancy is what, guys? It's about technically 3 years that they're infants. I don't know the exact number of infants that have been born in the Virunga Massif area, but you know, many, of course. In fact, we've even had, you know, in some ways had a bit of a baby boom. I think there's, you know, just with human populations, the birth rate kind of goes up and down. But yeah, I don't know if, guys, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think for gorillas, actually, we are having less deaths than previous times. So we are still going up with new babies coming in. Yeah. As we didn't not do many necropsies or report of dead babies like it was in some times ago. So we are going up with the numbers.
Yeah, we had kind of looked at what are the risk factors for gorillas getting caught in snares. We had a student at the UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine that helped us with that project, Dr. Marlene Hagblade. Not surprisingly, it's the infants and the juveniles get caught in snares because they're just like kids, right? They're playful, they're curious, they get themselves into some trouble. And just, you know, the fact that our veterinarians, first of all, because they're habituated and it can be observed when an infant or a juvenile is caught in a snare, because our veterinarians can go into the forest and safely anesthetize that animal, remove the snare. You can imagine that, you know, just removing for even, you know, especially like an infant female who, if she didn't have that snare removed, might succumb to her injuries. If we can remove the snare, she's got a lifetime ahead of her making more gorillas. And it's, you know, it's been proven that the veterinary care that gorilla doctors provides is a really significant contributor to the annual growth rate of the habituated mountain gorilla population. And it's one of the reasons that mountain gorillas are the only great ape whose numbers in the wild are increasing. The only great ape whose numbers in the wild are increasing. It's a pretty sobering thought, but also really rewarding aspect of our work that the gorilla doctors are directly contributing to that.
Yeah, and you have to say that, I mean, the production is, it's not seasonal, it's across the year. So, and if I take an example of Rwanda, for example, in the last 5 years, the baby born per year will be between 20 and 35. if I just count the past 5 years.
So we've got a question from Joanne for Eddie, who wants to know how you're coping with the poachers, and the support that you all have, and the situations with the poachers and rangers.
Yeah. So actually, the big challenge in conservation in my country is endless unrest, which is leading people to do whatever they do because there is no control, there is no law enforcement. And we are hoping with the new government, something is changing now. So they are trying even to reinforce the security around here, like removing civilian to govern some provinces. We're having now militaries to try to reinforce the law to make people think twice, not to involve in poaching or cutting forests down. So the big deal, some partners, along with we are working, we are trying to increase the sensitization education programs to try to show people how valuable it is to keep these animals, and which will keep their environments in a good balance, which you call like ecosystem health must be very stable. And that's how we try to work as partners to reinforce that. And actually with these outbreaks of Ebola and other diseases, when it came in, we started now explaining people that most of zoonotic diseases, which disease can be shared between human and man, most of them, like 75%, are from wild. So we try to sensitize them that we are very close to these animals. It is very easy for disease to cross from wild to people. So this is the way to make a barrier to those diseases which are killing many people around the world. So as we face this outbreak of Ebola, it was also a good opportunity to show people that it is a high risk to be feeding on bushmeat. You don't know the origin. The first case was the antelope, which was eaten, and the poacher brought the meat to the village. And that's how, in Equator, how the outbreak started. So this was one of the message, and we keep telling people. So we are still doing it. The education is one of our key. So our key message.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Noel, we have a question for you, switching gears from Angelina, which is asking, how large is a gorilla family's range? And do they move mainly for food or for water or for both?
Well, the group size is between, for us, a male and a female is a group. We start monitoring that because a male and a female means a family. So they can move up to 700 meters per day, which depends on food availability. There are other factors and the weather and stuff. So did I miss I guess I missed the question.
How big are the groups, Noel? How big?
Yeah, how big are the groups?
In a group?
You mean the size of the group?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, what's the size of the group? Yeah.
Well, okay, so I would say that it's between 2 animals to 40 animals. So, but as a result, if the group grows over 40, what we have seen so far is that there are high chances of splitting into 2. I mean, it means that you have a multi-male group, which means the young males will be trying to steal females and establishing their own families. So, but as I'm speaking now, the largest we have on Rwanda side, they are 33. So in the last 2 weeks, we had about 40 animals in one group, but as a result, we are now having 2 subgroups.
Well, that's interesting.
Just to answer the range question a little bit, I always like to quote my former colleague and mentor and predecessor, Dr. Mike Cranfield, who'd always tell people that these gorillas live in a gigantic salad bowl. They are vegetarians. They do not have to go very far to find food to eat. And so, yeah, they'll move up, up slope or down slope, looking for great patches of vegetation, but it's literally all around them. So they don't have to go too far.
Well, we received
they don't go to look for water. I have to mention it. We just missed it. She asked for water. So they can find the water, how much water they need in their diet. their food is very rich in water, so they don't travel long distances to look for water. No.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So we're running out of time, but we've got several kind of questions here. Which, Kirsten, for you, how can people help gorilla doctors and support the gorilla population?
Well, thank you. Gosh, you're helping by being here, first of all, learning more about our organization, meeting our staff, by being here, showing your appreciation for our mission and their work. Again, it's been really an unprecedented year, of course, on so many levels. And for our veterinarians to know that there's this incredible community around the world that supports us. I mean, we are completely dependent on donor funds for our work. And so quite literally every dollar that is donated to us is going to our mission and helping us achieve that mission. And again, it is really, there are too few wildlife conservation success stories in the world, but the mountain gorilla conservation story is one of them. And again, Gorilla Doctors is such a huge part of that. It's such a privilege to be part of this amazing organization, but these are the guys doing the hard work, and we need your support. So appreciate all of you who are here with us today, everything you've done to support us over the years, this last year, going forward. And then really just sharing what you learned today with others and helping us grow our community of supporters would be so appreciated.
Well, I totally agree with that. There's also the Amazon Smile program. You can go to smile.amazon.com, sign up for Gorilla Doctors, and a portion of all your Amazon purchases can go to this great organization. So, with that, I want to kind of turn it back over to you, Kirsten. We're sorry that we lost, Dr. Fred, but we're glad we got him here for the beginning. And thank you, Noel. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Tony, so much. And Kirsten, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. A huge thanks to everyone for joining us today. Tony, thank you for bringing so much energy and humor. Brian, thank you. And Amazon for making this event possible. We always appreciate, of course, the UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine for being our home here in the United States. And finally, again, my really heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who support us, believe in us, champion our mission. You do inspire us and you make our work possible. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.